Good morning, team. Thank you for joining us. It's Tuesday, December 7th. I'm Amy Kaur, and I'm joined by Kevin Van Eck, and we're live out of the Goose Island office. Actually, we're live out of my office, so I hope you like it. So last week on Coffee, we had Mike and Thad on, and Thad talked a lot about the importance of relationships. And in this past year, in 2021, where so many of us were so busy, it was the idea of making sure we don't forget about those relationships. So today, we want to dive a little bit deeper into relationships and actually some interesting aspects of your relationships and how you may improve them as we head into 2022. So on that note, I'd love for you to grab your coffee, your tea, whatever beverage you get in the morning to get through your day, and let's jump into the relationship episode of Coffee with Amy and Kevin.
Yeah, good morning, Amy. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I will say that this is a nice office that you have.
Thank you.
Yes, what is this, merino?
It's sheep's wool, maybe.
Nice.
I don't know.
Well, relationships are where it's at, so that's where we're going to go. Relationships, we all know, we've heard, we've seen, we've read, we've experienced. Relationships are the core of real estate, right? So that's what we're talking about. But we're going to take it a step further. We're going to take a look at two things. One is we're going to look at why relationships are important, and second of all, what type of relationships we're going to work on going into 2022. So first, why are relationships important to us as real estate agents? Well, we could work with leads, we could work with random outreach, people from our farms, but everything from Ninja to Buffini to other coaching systems talks about working with people you already know. So we know when you work with somebody that you have a relationship with, they tend to trust you, right? And the second part of that is that when you work with somebody that you have a relationship with, the transaction typically goes smoother. Whether you're selling their home or you're working with them as a buyer, it typically goes more smoothly if you have a connection with them. And then the last piece is, and this is really key for us as agents, enjoying what we do. Mm-hmm. So I would say that when we have a relationship or a connection with someone, that it's likely that we're going to have more fun, we're going to actually enjoy working with them through the process. So that's why relationships are important. So the relationships we're going to take a look at today are going to be three different types. The first is relationships we need to fix. Not all relationships are perfect. So we're going to look at the ones that we need to either reignite or repair. We're also going to look at relationships we want to have. We all want to grow our sphere. We all want to form relationships. We're going to take a look at how to do that. And the third piece is we're going to take a look at relationships with ourselves. Super mushy. Yes.
Yep.
Turn on the Barry White and we're going to get emotional. But really, it is important. It all starts with us, right? If we don't feel great, if our relationship with ourselves isn't great, that translates into everything else we do. So let's kick it off.
Yeah, let's get into it. So let's talk about that first topic, which is the relationships that need some work. And these are the ones that, let's face it, are the hard ones to look at. Sometimes we want to kind of just push it under the rug and recognize that maybe it's a lost friendship, a lost, family member or relationship, or even a lost client. But what I want you to really think about is there an opportunity in 2022 for me to become brave enough to actually see if I can re-engage those individuals and re-spark a relationship? So there's a couple of different categories. The first one that I think of are some of those friendships that we've lost. Maybe it's family members or just people that were good friends of ours over the years, that something happened. Maybe there was a dispute or an argument, or somebody moved and you just lost touch because of distance. Are those things that you can think about in your own life, and are there relationships that you've got that are like that? Well, maybe think about the opportunity to re-engage those in some fashion. And it's going to be a little bit tough because it'll probably mean you making the first contact or deciding that you're going to reach out and see if you can rekindle that relationship. And that isn't always easy. It's pretty brave, but I'll tell you, if you can make that first step, I bet a lot of times the person on that other side of the friendship or the relationship is going to thank you for it, because I bet oftentimes they had the same thoughts and feelings about missing out on what you once had. The other one that you can look at And I know, Kevin, you and I talked about this earlier, and we've all had this, but clients where we've lost touch, we've all done that, right? We have a great relationship with them, we help them buy or sell, we talk to them every single day, but then we go back to helping others, right? And so we end up losing touch, and sometimes it's a couple of months, then it becomes a couple of years, and then it feels awkward, the idea of, ugh, how do I re-engage? The way you re-engage is just by simply making the point of reaching out by phone or text and just owning it and saying, God, it's been way too long since we've had a chance to connect, and I'd really love to see how you're doing. Being authentic and even owning the fact that maybe you have lost touch or that it was your fault that you didn't stay reconnected, odds are they're probably feeling the same way, because a relationship is a two-way street. There's two people in it. But what I will tell you, and one of my favorite lines that Kevin laughs at, but is you own 50% of the relationship. You own half of it. And so if you re-engage or you reignite your half, odds are you're going to be able to get that relationship and friendship rekindled. So I want you to think about that as we're heading into 2022. I know for me, December is always such a huge reflection month as I look back at the year that has just happened and the things that I want to start thinking about as I go into the new year. So throw it out into the universe. I believe so much in karma, but karma needs something to have in order to react. So think about what you can be doing to rekindle some of those tougher relationships that really did or do matter to you.
Yeah, it's interesting because going back to those relationships that are broken or need work, a lot of times it's our own pride that stops us from working to repair them, right?
Yeah, you kind of have to fall on the sword sometimes and just own it. Own the fact that you caused an argument or agree to disagree, but also ask to be able to move beyond that, because a lot of times whatever it was, the argument or something, the relationship and the friendship is so much stronger than that. But you have to be brave and maybe bite down on your pride, but be brave enough to take that first step, because I think for so many that's the hardest part.
The second type of relationship we want to talk about today are the relationships that we want to have, right? We want to grow our sphere, and specifically for those that are not from the area, maybe you don't have a large friend or family base here, and you need to meet people. Well, you've heard before, people will say, join a group, join a club, go volunteer. The problem with that sometimes is that you end up joining something that doesn't actually interest you, and it's impossible to create authentic relationships when you're doing something with the wrong intention. So a good example is you join a club or a group, you have no interest in what it is, and you go in thinking about business and referrals, and you're peppering everyone there with how you're an agent, and you add them to your mailing list and your spam email list and AdWorks and all of these things. The problem with that is you're going to push people away rather than attract them to you. So here's what you do. You find something you're interested in. You find whether it's cheese making, wine tasting, whatever it might be, find something you're interested in and join a club, group, or event that surrounds that. Because you're going to be doing something you enjoy and that you're actually interested in. You're going to meet others that have the same interest, and you have the ability to create an authentic relationship rather than something based on trying to generate referrals. So how do you do this? Well, Amy's talked a lot about a group or a website called meetup.com. It's a safe place, right? You can go and find other people or events that are interested in the same thing you are. It's not a dating site. It could be, but it is most effectively used if you want to meet other people with the same interest and learn something new and participate in activities. So you could go to meetup.com. And in fact, I'm taking a pottery class starting in January.
Can't wait to see what this ends up being.
Yeah, I am not the most creative or crafty person out there, so we'll see. But I am doing a pottery class. It'll be great. I also know of an agent here at App Properties who was really interested in getting out of their shell. They ended up taking a Second City improv course. And when they did that, they created relationships with others. This person did end up feeling more comfortable, more confident when talking with clients. And you know what? They've gotten 3 referrals from within that one class or series that they took at Second City. That wasn't the intention and why they did it, but they ended up forming relationships. And that's how he ended up getting 3 referrals, and I'm sure that number is going to grow. Okay. And 2 other places where you might be able to meet people with common interests. You know, if you enjoy running, there are running clubs out there. All different types of running clubs, whether you're looking at running the marathon, the half marathon, training for a 5K, there's groups like that. Your gym, obviously don't bother people while they're working out, don't be creepy, but it is a place where you might be able to meet somebody. So really put yourself out there. Look at what you're interested in and find others that are interested in the same thing so you can form an authentic relationship.
I love that. And I also got out of my shell this past winter. I decided to sign up for paddle, which is a pretty well-known activity in the suburbs. And, it's super fun. I'm not great. I have a terrible serve, but every Monday night I go and I play with 10 other women, and, we kind of round robin and we're playing in different leagues. But again, it's just a way to get out and find something you enjoy, and you'll naturally meet new people. So I love that.
I bet you're actually good at paddle.
Not that great, but I'm getting there. Ask me next season. All right, so the third relationship that we want to talk about, and yes, Kevin alluded to the fact that it's a little mushy, but I also think it's really on point and so important, and that is taking stock or taking a look at the relationship that you have with yourself. And, I think we've all been through a lot since the middle of 2020 through all of 2021. It's been such a crazy year for so many of us. And so often we've been so busy trying to help clients or managing work-life balance, dealing with family members, that oftentimes we don't take a step back and really look at how are we doing as individuals? Am I okay? And I also know that, again, I said it earlier, but in December, I always tend to look back at, my year, how did I do? But what I also notice that I do so often is I tend to look at all the things that I didn't do well, or all of the things that I didn't accomplish. And I was listening to a podcast last night when I was walking the dog, and it was from Gwyneth Paltrow. She's, if you know her, she's Goop, that whole brand, and she does a lot about self-help. And she had this amazing guy that she was interviewing on her podcast, and he had lived with monks for 8 years. And so he did a lot of, let's just say, a lot of internal work. And they just had this great conversation about the idea of, if you can't be really good with who you are and what makes you tick, and really learn to kind of love yourself instead of the natural reaction of how can I be doing things better, or finding all the critical components in yourself, once you find who you are and you are happy with that, it allows you to become something different in front of everybody else, because your authentic self is shining and kind of getting out in front of everyone. So what I really want all of us to think about, and I know it sounds cheesy, but I think we don't do enough of it, is really think about all of the things that you accomplished this year. I mean, think about what a badass you probably have been this year, managing family, managing work, accomplishing everything. Some of you have had your best year ever. Stop for a second and tell yourself how proud you are of yourself. Tell yourself how great you are, and tell yourself how much you appreciate who you are and what you do. Because if we take the time to be, instead of an inner critic, an inner advocate, it's going to allow us to feel great, and then it's going to allow us to turn around and be able to do the same for others. So I really also want you to think about, what do I want to do moving forward to, really focus on myself so that I'm grounded and I have great energy, so that I can go into every day just being the best version of who I am as I get into 2022. So think about yourself, be kind to yourself, but also take time to reflect on just how great you really are.
Yeah, so that wraps up our 3 different types of relationships we're going to work on. The first, just to recap, we were talking about relationships that need to be fixed or reignited. The second, talking about relationships where we want to create relationships. And the third was the relationship with ourselves. So we have a challenge. We have a challenge for you with each one of these types of relationships as you move into January. So the first is, over the next several weeks, and really starting today, think about at least 10 people. 10 people that you have relationships with that have either been broken, that haven't been fostered, relationships that really would be beneficial to get back, and beneficial from a relationship standpoint. The second challenge we have is to be able to join something or do something that allows you to meet other people. So it could be that meetup.com. It could be looking for a class out there that you can take. It could be joining a running club. So do something to be able to add to your database, add to your group of relationships. And then the third challenge would be with yourself. That relationship, how are you going to foster that? Well, there's many different ways. It's maybe you're going to take better care of yourself. Maybe it's through exercising. Maybe it's through affirmations. Maybe it's through starting every day with gratitudes. Maybe it is journaling. Whatever it might be, being able to take care of ourselves. And you can read and listen and learn more about how to do that in any number of places. But with each one of these challenges, report back. Let us know at coffee@appproperties.com or leave it in the comments below on YouTube. And we'd love to hear the way that you are taking on these 3 challenges that we've given you.
Yeah, I'm so excited to hear. And one person told me at some point, and I think it's such a great thing to think about as we step away or wrap up this episode, is somebody said that on the airplane, they always tell you to put your oxygen mask on first, right? Before you can help anybody else. So think about that. Make sure to take care of yourself, and then you can go ahead and fuel all of those others and all of the relationships that are out there. So we appreciate you spending time with us on this Tuesday. This is actually going to be our last episode of 2021, but don't worry, you're going to see us on Tuesdays in 2022. We've got some surprises in store, maybe a new format, maybe a cool new studio. You'll have to wait and see. But we thank you so much for hanging out with us this year, and we'll look forward to great things coming 2022.
That's right. Great things in 2022. Cheers, stay caffeinated, and make it a great day.
See you next year.